Well, I am going to get started so we can value your time and our honored guest. Today we have someone I've known for a super long time who I adore. Her name's Jen Carstensen. Welcome, Jen, and thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
I'm really excited to have you because you are really one of the I think the pioneers and the OGs in internet lead gen. I mean, you were back in the day when we were all going to like rain camps and we were all doing all that stuff. You know, you were in that group, and you've known Ben for longer than I have, which is awesome. And so I just, I asked you to come on today because there's this topic that I think is deceptively hard, meaning I think everybody assumes it's an easy topic, but it's not. And that is the topic of lead routing and how we pass leads out on a team, what it looks like structurally, how we make those decisions, how we talk about it for recruiting and retention and all of that. And so we're going to do sort of a nerdy deep dive today that I think you guys are going to find extraordinarily helpful, because Jen's incredible. She's amazing at this. And so that's going to be our topic. That said, I'd love you to just introduce yourself, talk to us about, Memphis and what your firm looks like there, what your team looks like, and all of the things.
Well, thank you for the kind words. I feel the same way about you. But yeah, so I have been an agent for 15 years in the Memphis area. We've expanded in Memphis. We've expanded into DeSoto County. We're a border state or a border city. So Memphis borders DeSoto County in Mississippi. So it was natural for us to be dually licensed in Mississippi as well. So we've got a team. Most of our agents are dually licensed in Mississippi, but we have a branded team name of Live Love DeSoto, as well as Live Love Memphis. And then we also just expanded into Nashville. So we're Live Love Nash as well. One of our agents from Memphis moved to Nashville and we didn't want to lose her. And so she wanted to partner with us. And so we're in the midst of doing that now, which is super exciting. But yeah, I built my business from a team pretty much, I got into the business in 2009, started a team and followed along the many greats of that era when teams were just becoming a thing. And just really, cut my teeth on expireds, FISBOs, all that stuff in the down market and internet lead gen.
That's so awesome. I love that. Yeah. I think you and I met in, I don't know, 2010, 11, 12, somewhere around there. I don't even know. It was a long time ago though. I really want to do a deep dive into this topic that I think people actually struggle with, right? And I see a lot of iterations and they're constantly, working on it. So why don't we start with Jen? Why don't we start with sort of what kind of lead sources you have? Let's start there. And you don't have to give specifics if you don't want to, but I think you have some internet referral based leads.
Yeah.
And then you have some paid and just all the other things. So why don't we kind of distinguish the different type of leads?
Yeah, sure. So I actually have my business dashboard up in my CRM. We use 19 different sources. So the majority of our business obviously comes from Sphere. But we do have every now and then some investors that come in to want to sell portfolios, but maybe there's like 20 or 30 at a time there. Most of our leads, like our number two source after Sphere, is our paid leads. So we had a previous CRM, we used Boomtown, we just pivoted to Brivity. So this will be Brivity closings directly from the PPC. And then also past clients, we use Fast Expert, Homelight, radio. We've been on radio for about 6 years now. UpNest, Referral Exchange, ZBuyer, all the main ones really. We don't do Zillow or Realtors. We don't pay in that sense. We just have referral-based leads.
Okay, got it. And then there's, your Sphere, and I think it's important because we are gonna talk about that today because it's a big topic with me. Your Sphere is also like a primary lead source in that you are handing out leads and actually you're handing out appointments from your Sphere as well.
Yeah. So when we joined Place a couple months ago. We had to change our commission structure, which was going to be better for us. And one of the opportunities for the team was they could get my leads. So I'm still responsible. Like right now, The last time I looked, it was like 56% of the GCI for the team came from my production. And so in 2024, I want to pivot out of production and be like, I want my agents to be the income producer for me and not myself. And so one of the ways that I can offer opportunities to them is to offer appointment set leads. So we recently, like this last quarter, started implementing that to see if it would be, of value to the agents and it would make sense for me. And so far, it's been a complete game changer. So instead of 50-50 down the middle for all of our leads, we actually have this gift of appointment set leads, which can offset their regular production. And that's 35% for buyers if I set the appointment for them and they're like ready to go. It's not like ISA set. It's like they've called me, they heard us on the radio, they know for sure they want the Love Memphis Group to help them buy a house. Then I just say, great, we're going to have one of the teammates reach out to you and they're going to get the process started. So then I tee that up to the buyer's agents that are interested in those appointment set leads and they go off and running. And the theory is that if the appointment is set by me, it's a warm handoff and there's not a whole heck of a lot of follow-up like there would be with an internet lead or a referral-based lead or any other lead. And then secondly are the seller leads. So I'm primarily a listing agent. So I'll do, in a good year, I'll do 100 deals. This year, it's probably looking more like 80, which is still a win. But for me and my team, that's an awful lot of leads, So I have shown value to my agents where I'm like, okay, well, if I'm doing 80 deals a year, I don't want to do that anymore. You can have at least half of that. I'll commit to giving half of those leads to you guys if you're interested, but the split's going to be different because they already know, like, and trust me. And I, could otherwise take the business myself. And so that splits 30-70. And so far, our top agent has, bought in and is killing it in that department. And it's working out really great for me.
And I want to be clear, that's 30 and 35% to the agent. I just want everybody to make sure they hear that. So our goal, certainly at Place, but it should be everybody's goal. It's a universal thing, would be that your cost of sale or cost of goods sold or your splits, there's all sorts of different ways to call that, would not ever go above 50%. Right. And so where the origin of appointment leads come from, and I've seen them anywhere from 30 to 40%, Jen, is that, back in the day, we would pay ISAs 5% for buyer side transactions and 10% for list side. And so you were kind of building them into that. And, nowadays I find a lot of appointment leads are coming from the team owners, kind of like you're saying. Another appointment lead, Jen, would be you're going to take the listing, but you're going to have an agent work the buy side, right? Be their buyer's agent.
100%.
The only thing I would add to that would be, it's interesting. I have caught myself. I don't call appointments leads anymore. I call them appointments. To me, there are leads and, they have to convert them. And I mean, appointments are appointments. You're practically handing them a customer, which is the hardest part of real estate. So when you look at like their dollar per hour, you and I we were super geeking out on this.
I love it.
We were getting our calculators out earlier because we were looking at dollar per hour and we were looking at, are the agents, because one of my questions to you is, are the agents going to make enough in this scenario? Like if all of their business is appointment leads, do they get to a point where they're like, well, I'm making a third of GCI. I usually would make 50%. So for every 12 deals I do in an appointment lead, that's really the equivalent of 9 deals or whatever in their head. Will you kind of walk me through the math on that?
Yeah, so we think about it totally different because, there's a lot of different ways to think about it. And numbers are, there's a lot of different ways you can shape numbers, right? So the way that I look at it is dollar per hour. And how many hours a week do you work? And so let's just take a $400,000, layup that I'm going to give my top agent, and it's a buyer, and they've called me, and they've come back to the area, they moved out, they came back, they're like, hey, I'm ready to buy again. I need your help. I know they're going to use me. There's not a doubt in my mind. And there's really no follow-up that needs to be done. And this is going to be like an ancillary piece of their business, not their primary. This is just going to be a gift. And that's what into the CRM, but I'm just going to give you bonuses as being a partner with me. And the bonus is every once in a while, I'm going to give you these appointment leads. It's going to be, whenever I feel the spirit move me, or whenever I see you're kicking ass, or whenever I see, you're struggling, I'm going to help you. So let's just say it's 400,000. The commission is 12,000, obviously split between the two of us. So 6 and 6. So if they had to nurture this lead for 19 months or 6 months or 3 years, they would get 6,000. That's the max they can get. However, they can get 4,200 right now and probably spend theoretically a lot less time with this buyer because I've teed them up and there's context there. So I don't feel it's the same as like this many leads to this. It's more like, what is your dollar per hour? So if I can tell you that you're going to make $4,200 and you should spend less than 10 hours with them total, what's your hourly rate? $420. In Memphis, that's pretty good. I mean, there's not a whole lot of people that are making that kind of hourly rate. But we go back before, and we talk about take your GCI, take the number of hours that you honestly worked, and then divide, figure out what your hourly rate is. So most of them are at $200, right? $200, give or take. And so that's their measure. That becomes their measure of like, okay, well, am I going to make more than that or less than that? And maybe it's different in everybody's market.
Actually, Jen, before we keep going, so to everybody, hourly rate is calculated by, income you made during the time period specified and how many hours you worked. Very simple equation. It's very simple math. There's nothing fancy there. It's like, okay, I figured I worked 35 hours a week and on average in the last 90 days, and my income in the last 90 days was, $25,000 GCI or, $25,000 net income, however you want to calculate it. That's how Jen's getting the 200. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, and we talk about that all the time. So when people are in here and they're chitty chatty with each other, I might walk down the hall and just say, is that in line with your hourly rate? And so it kind of just puts perspective, because we all know that the clients that you have, you just show them one house and they write an offer. Well, that's a pretty darn good hourly rate if you've only worked with them collectively, 1 to 3 hours. And so there's a balance, right? I mean, some agents are going to work a buyer 20 hours, and then some buyers, they work, it's going to be from start to finish, 6 hours. So it all sort of balances out. So it's working out really well for anybody that's raising their hand.
Okay, so I just did the math. So 35% of a $12,000 commission, which was the example you gave, if it's 50-50, they would get 6,000. If it's 35%, say it was a buy side, it was an appointment that you gave them. Notice I didn't say appointment lead, I said an appointment. It was an appointment you gave them. That's $4,200 income, right? So that's a difference of 1,800.
Yes.
1,800.
So basically the 1,800 that they're not getting is also saving them time and not.
Completely.
So yeah. And I think too, we kind of talked about this off the call. I'm not sure if we're going to talk about this later, but definitely want to mention in this piece, most of our agents have call reluctance, whether they want to admit it or not. And so the appointment set lead sort of gives them a little bit of a break on the call reluctance, because I just had a conversation with one of my agents the other day, and she's like, listen, I'm really good at Sphere. I can start the relationship's already started. But what's hard for me is like starting the relationship and like starting that conversation, not coming across as fake or inauthentic. And so I just kind of looked at her. I was like, do you want to do appointment set leads? And she was like, heck yeah, I do. I said, great. So you're going to have responsibility to do your brevity tasks, but I'll put you in the rotation for appointment set leads. And so there's a misconception that everybody loves to call, right? So I just call a thing. And so not everybody likes to call, and it's a wonderful way to give them income, especially if you trust them and they know, what they're doing. But a Sphere heavy agent on your team might really benefit from some appointment set leads.
Well, and this is, I love that you brought that up, Jen. And this is where that came up. And I do think that I would plant this seed with everybody watching and listening. And that is that that came up because I brought up a scenario to you. I was talking to a team, And I had them go do a calculation on how much their average agent makes. Right. And they hadn't done that before. And because they were having a retention problem. And I said, go back, go figure out how much your average income, all agents that have been with you 12 or more months, what are they bringing in? And it was really low. And so we analyzed it, and almost all agents who stayed with this particular team for a year, Jen, were relying on appointments, and they had the same split for appointments. And so my aha and their aha with that is we have got to have our agents, they've got to self-generate to supplement, meaning they have to create a business plan, I think, that is reliant 1000% on either converting regular standard team leads and or converting Sphere, so that if they want to hit 24 units a year, they have a plan in place that they are actively working to hit 24. This has got to be on top of that because they cannot control this.
Yeah, this is what we call an earned opportunity. So if you're doing everything that you're supposed to do, like all of your top 10 tasks within the CRM, and you're showing up and present, then it's an earned opportunity as a benefit of the team.
Oh, I love that. Is that based on effort and activity or results that they're getting?
Both. So, and then the third thing is just conversion rate. So we also look at conversion rate. So Brivity allows us to track the we can see everything. So it's just, our old CRM was limited in that, but this is just like another level. So we can see all the calls, all the texts, but we can see a deeper dive into the specific source. So like if one of my agents is like crushing it with home light leads and my other agent's having a struggle with it, then I might talk to the agent that's having a struggle and say, let's swap these leads out. Let's give them. So we have a lot of conversations about the leads that the agents have, the quality of the leads, the comfortability of the leads. And then, if they're converting at a higher rate and I get a layup, then I'm going to give the person that's, we call it the unfair share. And we are very, very transparent on our team. So the agent that's converting the most leads, the agent that's showing up, the agent that has the most deals on the board, they're going to get the unfair share because they've earned the opportunity. That being said, we're not that insensitive to the agent that's struggling. So if there's somebody that's struggling and 3 deals fell apart through no fault of their own, or just because life happens, we'll sometimes give them a couple of layups as well. But the majority of our business is driven by, conversion, effort, energy, and efficiency within the CRM.
Okay, I love that. And let's get in the weeds on that. How do you track that internally?
Everything is tracked through our CRM. So we have goals that we set for our team for the year and the month and the week. And so I'll just give you like what works for us. What works for us is if in order to receive leads that are the team generated leads, you have to commit to doing 150 calls a week. You just have to. If you're also expected to generate. So if you have nothing going on in your life and you are a full-time real estate agent, that means you should have at least 35 hours available at your disposal to be in real estate related activities. So if you're not doing things in the system, you should be doing 1 to 2 open houses a week. You should be lead circle prospecting for any new listings that the team has, circle prospect around those. And then Sphere. You should be loving on your Sphere. And one thing that we do we will be doing in Q1 of 2024 is that we're going to be doing target specific client events for our agent Sphere. So instead of doing like team events, some of our agents have been in the business over 20 years. So imagine their Sphere. And I know that the team nets more money with Sphere than referral-based leads. So we're going to be heavily focused on Sphere across all of our agents in 2024, but we're going to be doing like targeted swag, like, Agent A with the Live Love Memphis Group, not just the Live Love Memphis Group, or we'll do client dinners or client lunches specifically for their Sphere. And I think that's going to generate us a lot of business because we already kind of have brand awareness, but this is going to be like the benefit of our brand, but like specific to our agent. Okay.
I know that we're talking about lead routing, but I love that. And here's why I love that so much, you guys. Like feel like I've been like on my soapbox lately on this. It is so important. If you are having a challenging time retaining agents, which I admittedly have been, right? That this came from pain that I'm now correcting. Think about the fact that there could be a chance that your structure is not set up So that when your agents self-generate from their own sphere or potentially from open houses, every team's a little different, whether they deem open house leads team leads or sphere, or anyway, self-gen leads. But whatever, maybe your agent's a really good networker, maybe they're involved in groups or whatever. Here's what I am seeing is so important. We have to focus on being of massive value to helping them increase what they're selling to their own sphere, and increase what they're selling in open houses, and increase what they're selling to their own network. Whatever it is that they're doing to self-generate, we have to be able to look at them and say, hey, you're selling double to your sphere with us versus solo on your own. That is a missing link. And what you're saying you're doing, it's so good that you're doing that, because that is what's completely missing with this. So when we go back to lead routing, because this is such a great conversation, do you have it tagged through your CRM? So if sort of a HomeLight lead comes in or a Z buyer lead comes in or something, does it automatically route to the CRM, or is it manual? Like, what does that look like?
So we use mail parsing, and April figured that out. She's my DOO.
I've used that before. That's when you put little code things in your filters, basically your Gmail filters, and it comes in that way.
It has been a game changer, because in a previous life and with our previous CRM, and I say all this because we just switched our CRM in October, so we're fairly new to the CRM. But anyway, so the mail parser is what it's called, I guess. Mm-hmm. That is every referral-based lead source is automatically added into the CRM. Except there's one that doesn't. I think it's UpNest doesn't, which we don't get very many of those anyway, but it's a huge time saver. So that's one amazing win.
It's really, really huge. So we email parse them. That's great, into the CRM. How do you change it daily? How do you change the routing on those? So to your point, if let's just make up HomeLight, because that's kind of one that a lot of people have. So if you've got two agents that are crushing it on HomeLight, is it safe to say that you would have the routing go kind of Shark Tank to those two agents? Is that fair to say? Or
Yes. And I will say that we've got HomeLight in both states. And so I'm just going to use Kelly because she's our top agent. And so Kelly gets the HomeLight leads because she is the just top agent. And so if we ever overwhelmed her with too many, then we pivot and open that opportunity. But we take our top referral-based source, which probably is HomeLight, their Sphere past client, and then Google paid ads through Brivity. And then HomeLight's probably the number one referral-based source that we close from. So she gets those. If there ever was an opportunity to open up, then we would just round robin. But right now, all the leads are just round robin. They have the ability, though, like we've got some areas of Memphis that some agents don't feel comfortable going into, or some, cities that they're not really familiar in. Like we can service more than one county. So let's say, Millington is a city that's on the outliers of Memphis. If there's an agent that gets a lead in Millington and they don't want to go out to Millington, then they can create a rule for themselves that they're skipped. And so they can exclude leads if they want to. They can have a minimum if they want to. They have a lot of control within the database of what they receive. But whatever they receive is measured.
Are you doing this? Is April, your DOO, doing this? Who's handling this on the team?
April. I see the bigger picture, but she's in the day-to-day.
So how often is she, kind of tweaking that, would you say?
So she has calls with them every week. So that's important for her to have these calls every week to just see how are things going, what your life is like, because what worked last week, their life might be crazy. They might need to turn their leads off or whatnot. So she's super involved with them. She's asking them what the quality of the leads are, what the what the rate of return is, meaning how are your conversations? What are people saying? Do you see any trends with this lead source versus another? And then she's making adjustments. For example, we have a guy on our team, Robbie, who crushes it with investors. And so most of the agents know that if an investor comes in, then they'll just tell April, hey, transfer this guy to Robbie. he's he's the investor guy. So there's a lot of inner conversation that I might not even know about, like a lot of transferring of leads that I don't even know about, because our agent team's kind of all over the place. So we've got agents in all the cities. So I want them to have autonomy around that. I want them to be able to choose the areas that they want to work in, the price points they want to work in.
Okay, got it. So when you have these, someone was asking, I think it's a great question. When you have these like 35% home light referral fees and all of that, do you take that off the top and then split the remainder with your agents? What does that look like?
That's such a good question. So let me do the math real quick, because we used to do it the wrong way and we just recently started doing it the right way. So if you've never inspected the amount of your commission, I strongly suggest doing that, because when we joined place, we had to do that. And I was so proud of my answer. It was like, this was my previous answer. My previous answer was, oh yeah, I cover the referral fee as a benefit to my agent so that they always get 50, so that they never give special treatment to any of the other lead sources. So everybody works everybody equally and fairly. And the looks that I got and the math that I did, I was really cutting myself short.
Yeah.
And my cost of sale was ridiculous. So in a previous world, I did it that way for many, many years. And then recently we shifted to, we're going to be 50-50 net. And the growth.
So that's taking it off the top then.
The referral is going to come off the top. And I had to show them the value of why we were doing that. And we're now all 50-50 across the board. And in a previous world, our sphere was 80-20, 80 to the agent, 20 to us. And in this new world, we're 50-50 down the middle.
How did that change go when you talked to your agents and said, "Hey, we're gonna change that up"? What did that look like?
I mean, there was a lot of like, oh no, and then what do you mean? And so I had to get really clear about the value. So I never ever, I'm not a team, we have very little turnover. April's been with me 10 years, Kelly's been with me 10 years, Marco's been with me 15, and Crystal's been with me 5. And those are my admin. My agents on the team have been with me 6-7 years. The newer ones have been with me a year, so they're babies still, but we don't have a lot of turnover. And I think we don't because we don't change it up a lot. So this is a huge like earthquake shift of like all the things. So I just had to be clear on the value. I was like, hey, this is what we're doing and this is why we're doing it, but here's what I'm going to give you in return. So I'm going to be all in on you. I'm going to be all in on your sphere. Whereas before, I didn't care what you did with sphere. I'd help you, but it wasn't like I was going to help you grow your sphere. Now I'm partnering with you on the sphere. I'm going to help you grow it. And we're going to do so in some tangible ways. And then I want to hear from you too. This is a collaboration. Like what makes sense for you? Like what can we do to target your sphere, to grow your sphere, to increase your, bottom line, and to help grow the team? And so having those individual conversations, I was really nervous to have those. Really nervous. My voice was shaking, but I did it and everybody's in.
Great job, Jen. You're an incredible leader that A, you had the hard conversations, and then B, that no one left. Like, that's a testament to your leadership and the loyalty that they have. Is that where you came up with the individual sphere events kind of through that process?
Yeah. So I was talking to some place leaders, obviously, too, and just like, hey, help me with this conversation because they have them all the time. And that idea was just sort of born out of that conversation. So there was a couple of things of like, instead of just having team events, have them with the agent's name everywhere, and have the mortgage company sponsor the agent, and have everything agent centric around the team, just like, a bigger box brokerage would have if they were doing an open house or doing a client event. You'd have your brokerage name and then you have your own stuff everywhere. So we're just kind of operating it like that.
Do you pay for those client events that you're giving them to your sphere, or do you share that cost with them?
I cover the whole expense.
Okay.
It's covered or it's sponsored. And that's the other thing. I was like, hey, I kind of just talked to my people and I said it like this. I'm looking for people that are all in on me. because I'm going to be all in on you. And all in on you means this. And I laid it all out. And I laid it out that it also meant financial growth and financial responsibility and financial partnership. Because normally on teams that I've talked to, if the sphere is not 50-50, there's no financial contribution to that teammate's sphere. And so I know business is tough for so many people. But I mean, I kind of had to show them, listen, you can do 10 sphere deals yourself at 100%, or I can teach you how we can scale this to 40. And you're not working an extra, a whole heck of a lot more. You're just being supported now in a really enriched way.
That is what you just said, I think encapsulates the value proposition we need to have as a team to our agents for their sphere, where we need to be able to have a tangible value stack and proven roadmap to say, hey, you can sell double, triple, quadruple to your sphere with us than without us. I think that is absolutely key and pivotal, especially in this market. So, kind of going back to some of this, how often do you track your team's, the weighting of sort of team leads, appointment leads, and then self-generated leads? Like, how often do you look at your agent's mix of what they're selling, year to date and kind of weigh that? Or do you?
Yeah, I think it's more of a pulse. So I'm really a visionary. Like some team leaders are super analytical. I'm a D and a C with a little bit of I. So I'm bigger picture kind of girl. So April's in the detail of it. So I'm more of a sense of, I'll look at the board and see what's on, the closings that are coming up. I'll look at the source and I'll see if one source is dominating a particular agent. I'll just kind of talk to them about that and say, hey, what's going on with, these other sources, or do we need to make any changes? But not really. I mean, I'm not really doing that deep dive into that.
How often, or do you kind of check and measure what your agents are selling, kind of, what their actual sales numbers are, especially in comparison to their business plan and what their goal is and what their net is, what they're taking home?
Yeah, so we look every month at it's not a P&L, but it's just like the marketing within our CRM or the dashboard within our CRM is set. It's just like next level. So it shows us, I'm looking at it now, it shows us all the sources, the agents, and what the sources are of what they sold, their net, their percentage to their GCI for the year. It shows where they are now, what they're pending. It's in different colors. It takes really the guesswork out of everything. You just click a button and see it. So I wish I could tell you that there's like this massive, algorithm that we use, but it's already done for us. It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
and we kind of know, I kind of know by now, like what our agents are doing in terms of like their comfort level with lead sources. And like some of our agents are way more comfortable with new construction than others. And so you just can kind of identify patterns.
The reason I was asking these questions is because when I think of lead routing, for me, part of where this comes from is I do track that. Like I kind of want to know if I'm responsible for like 0% of their deals, because then I usually have a retention problem. If they're getting no deals from team leads, like in my experience, I've had a problem. But on the flip side, if 90% of their business is team leads, then they aren't doing their job either. And so I do kind of weigh that and look at it. And that does kind of have to do with how I distribute leads, right or wrong. Like I have used that. What are your thoughts on that?
So most of our teammates are team generated leads. So we never had a huge.
Okay. So that's why you'd had.
Yeah. So I think if you do have that, I can make that make sense though. I mean, if you've got an agent that is like heavy on sphere, they're going to not see the value of the team unless they're like bought into the whole value of it. That might be hard. Yeah, I can see that.
That is what happened to me, if we're being honest. And I knew what we were doing, and I knew that we were doing things for their sphere that they would never do on their own, but it's too late once they leave. And so, I'm just reminding everybody here, it's just me being super transparent, that we have to constantly show our agents what we're providing and what a value that is. That's why I love Jen's script that she just set, which is like, hey, let's get you from 10 to 40 with all of these things we're doing, and let's work together on that and make sure we're using the full force of the team for that, right?
Yeah. Well, and I also said, hey, if this isn't profitable for you, it doesn't make sense for me either. So we're going to revisit this. So we're going to revisit this every quarter, and we're going to have an analysis of like, okay, how many deals did you do? How many deals were Sphere? And if it's not making sense, then we're not going to do it. And so that gave them the assurance. I was like, you're not signing your soul to the devil here. It's just, this is where we're going as a team. And will you help me? Will you buy in? Will you come be a part of this? And let's grow together. But they always have an out. They can always say no.
How many how many units will your team do this year in 2023, Jen?
I think we're going to be close to 150.
So 150.
And we normally do 200. So I think we're down not as much as,
about 25%.
Others.
Yeah.
But we're not slowing down in December. We're actually working hard. We have 22 pending. Well, we had the total number of pendings for December is 22. So we're really happy. Yeah. Wow. There's only like 6 of us. So we're like this small and mighty team trying to.
That was my next question is how many agents in it? And so as you look towards growth next year, specifically growth in agent count next year, how are you, I'm curious what this looks like in your recruiting conversations, as far as their expectations on leads and appointments. And, speed of that. Does it happen right away? Do they have to earn it? I'm just curious if you could talk to that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the first interview is just about who we are, what we do, what we're like. And then the second interview is just because we're part of Place. We talk about that too. Like, so first it's just getting to know each other. And then the subsequent interview is like, okay, let's talk about Place. And so I know not everybody's with Place, so it might be a little different, my conversation. But we talk about the expectation. So you can earn the right to team leads through generating your own business. So self-generating and receiving. We are taught that and we fully absorb that concept of there's a lead generating that you're expected to do. And then as a benefit of lead generating yourself, you can lead receive on the team. And then within the lead receive, you also unlock bonuses or benefits being a part of the team, such as appointment set leads. And then also to Place, you have benefits such as stock and all kinds of other things. So there's the opportunity model that we talk about with the agents, the leverage model, all these different things we talk about within Place. But specifically recruiting, we do not have a lead problem. We have a body problem. So the average agent has way more leads than they should have. We're averaging about 90 leads in our system. And so that's a talking piece. Like, so we're looking for talented people that are hungry to make calls and aren't afraid. And then we just talk about the appointment set, opportunities. And then we do talk heavily about the Sphere. So some teams here are still 80-20 on Sphere. So it's a big sell. So the last hire that we had, her name's Lindsay. She just joined us. She joined as a solo agent from a indie brokerage as well. And she was immediately all in. She was like, I sold, 6 houses last year. I want to do 40. I love your energy. She saw us on Instagram. She's like, I'm ready to join forces and completely split with you because I want to learn. I want to grow. So
I love that. What is your growth plan next year? How many agents do you think you're going to add? And how do you calculate that? Since we're talking about lead flow, how do you calculate, the number of leads per month per agent, or what does that whole thing look like?
Yeah, I mean, we're probably getting like 3-ish hundred leads a month per platform. Okay. I mean, I'd have to look for sure, but it's an awful lot. And so we're a little bit skewed in the sense that, like, if we've got 4 agents in Tennessee in the Tennessee dashboard or in the Tennessee CRM, the same agents are in the Mississippi. So we're doing a great job generating leads. It's just finding the right fit for the team. And we're super culturally strict on who we hire. So we're not just hiring bodies. So if anybody follows us on Instagram, like everybody kind of like has the same vibe and the same energy. You have to be fun. You have to be hardworking. And so, we're very specific on how we search for talent. What was your question?
Well, no, how many? Well, that's good. So
I was
you
so
answered
excited
it
about the
because,
culture.
well, you wouldn't have really number of leads per agent because you have an overabundance of leads.
Yeah,
Like
I mean, no.
not everybody, because my answer would be for all of you guys, because I get asked that question a lot. 12 to 15 a month per agent is plenty. Most people think it has to be 20 or 30, and it just doesn't have to be. Frankly, there's a diminishing returns that happens. If one agent has too many leads, they can't possibly work that many, and so they start falling out. So there is kind of a calibration. You have to kind of find that right number where your agents have enough to actively work, but not too much. Would you add anything to that? Subtract anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think the other benefit of the team is that we have the pond. And so we've got 22,000
Yeah.
leads in the pond.
You
And
basically have the city of Memphis in your pond.
yes, here's what I found interesting. So with our other CRM, it was just called archive, and archive meant like dead. And so Brivity calls it the pond, or maybe other CRMs do too. But I love the name pond because I just got back from a networking event, and one of the speakers was talking about fish where the fish are. And so I just thought it was interesting that it's called a
Good.
pond. So the pond and the mindset around having the opportunity to call the pond is hilarious to me, and also genius, because in our old CRM, it was like, you can call the archive people. And like, I'm not calling those dead leads. They're from 6 years ago. And so now that they're same leads, by the way, now that they're called the pond, they're like, call the pond. I would have. So we've got these call days where the agent goes in and dials the pond,
Yeah.
and then like sends the results in the group chat. And it's hilarious. Like, I found 5 buyers. I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, that's the craziest thing.
Well, I found in real estate, and I tell my agents this all the time, fresh leads are great, but actually mature leads are sometimes almost better because there's a life cycle. Sometimes you'll get them on the second purchase or sale. Like it sucks, like you missed the first one. But I have some that are like 6, 7 years old too. And those do not, so you just have to say to yourself, I'm going to call 100 people. It's going to be more dials. That's fine. But you can find a lot of people in their 6, 12, 18, 24 months in that are finally ready, that if they would have called them back then, they wouldn't have been ready.
Yeah.
We have a couple audience questions. Are you cool answering some?
Yeah. I'll do the best I
can. Okay. Kelly Spencer is asking, on Sphere events for agents, do you let them invite closed clients that were team generated?
No. So that's a very good question. So this is specifically pouring value into their sphere, either past clients that they closed prior to the team, or their sphere, their dentist, their best friends, their supper club, their Bible study group, whatever that is, their particular wheelhouse of people.
Got it. Michael D'Ambrosio is asking, what strategies are being implemented for new and seasoned agents to help grow and love on the sphere aside from client events?
So there's branded swag, and that's been a big, talking point for us lately, is just the branded swag of the team plus the agent's name on it. We are in conversation with our marketing person about doing other things such as Instagram, social media, advertisements, pushes, with place. If they get to a certain like agent close count, a transaction close count, they open the door to like a showing assistant and that sort of thing, which then can pivot to helping grow their sphere even more. But we also have VAs at their disposal. So we're open to collabing with them. So I guess the bigger picture is, Misty has probably 1,000 people in her sphere from past clients over being an agent for 25 years, right? So she might have subcategories. She might have like 3 different events that she wants to do for 3 different groups of her people. And so I just want to be open to that. So if she says, hey, I want my supper club to be at this place, and I'm going to invite my supper club to add a person, so it's going to double in size. Cool, let's do it. If she says, I want all my 30-year-olds and under to have this really cool like laser tag event, and I'm like, okay, cool, let's do it. So she's in control of how she wants to split up her sphere, if she wants to split it up, and what is creative and measurable and makes sense for her particular sphere. Her seniors might want to go to the movies, or what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, so I kind of love this because what I'm starting to see now that's clicking with me is you're sort of allocating a certain percentage or a certain budget number towards their sphere when they get to a certain production point. Instead of changing split, what you're saying is we're gonna budget X amount in your head. I don't know if you're telling them that or not, but X amount. I'm guessing it's like a percentage, and you're saying, well, I would rather give them, take 3% or something of revenue or of company dollar generated from their business and put that back rather than giving them like 30% more and split or whatever that number is. Is that accurate?
I mean, I think it's subtly what we're doing without telling them. Yeah. But also we're utilizing our vendor partners to sponsor. So, and honestly, it's not really 100% coming from me anyway. So, I'll call a vendor partner and say, hey, we need to do an event. We're estimated that 75 people are going to be there. What's your participation like? And so, we've got a really good reputation in our marketplace. So people want to partner with us. So we just kind of tell them, hey, we're looking at the event total cost of being like this. What would you like? And how much can I count you in for? And a lot of times it's 100%. A lot of times they'll offer 100% and we'll say, we'll split it with you. So that's a better answer than we thought. So we'll just split it with you.
And I love that. And for all of our friends who aren't with Place, you can create what we have an opportunity model. So at 0 to 12 units, they're an agent, 12 to 24 units, they're an associate, 24 units, they become a partner, which unlocks a whole bunch of stuff like health insurance, stock option program, and a leverage model, meaning they can start getting a showing agent. And then at 50 units or 500K GCI, they become senior partner, and managing partners at 100 units. You can still replicate the same thing. You can create a schedule basically, and you could assign different, unlock different things. And that's really what you're saying. And what I love about what you're doing for my Place friends and partners that are watching and listening is you're just sort of supplementing and going with the model we have at Place and then adding your own spin to it, which is exactly what Place is. It's a playbook and it's perfect. It's the perfect use of Place actually, which is saying, oh, perfect. I'm going to take this opportunity model and this is what we're going to do at Live Love teams, all of your Live Loves. So I love that so much.
Well, and someone else told me too, and I don't know if this will be helpful for other people, but it really put things in perspective for me, specifically around Sphere. He said, Jen, a lot of people think that you're going from 20% to 50%, right? And there's a 30% delta. He said, really, if you really look at the numbers, the delta is probably closer to 15. And so what you're trying to do is you're trying to give value in that 15% gap. And so this is all what you can give out. If you're pouring into their Sphere in a way where you're monetarily doing that, as well as coaching, as well as mentoring, as well as being collaborative, then that's well above what a lot of other, teams are doing. And so the value will be there and then it's just about trusting too. They have to trust in the process, just like me. So, and it's working out really well, really well.
I love that. Well, thank you. You are the best. We will have you back for sure. I loved it. We went a little over, but that's okay. I think it was worth it because this is such a great topic that opens the door to other conversations as we've illustrated. So if anybody wants to reach you, Jen, what's the best way to reach you?
You can find me on Instagram at Live Love Memphis and connect with me there.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody, and have a great, great holiday week. I am taking next week the webinar off. I'm not taking it off from work. That's for sure. And then Sarita's going to be back on the 3rd because I am taking that week off, ladies and gentlemen. Woo! Do I want to take that? Yeah. So I will see you guys all in a few weeks, but we are here every Wednesday except for next Wednesday. So Jen, my friend, have a great Christmas. Love you. Talk soon.
You too. Bye, guys.
Everybody.